Hello, Cosmic Soul family. Ella Ivy here, playing with the technology. Let's go ahead and get this screen off. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Ella Ivy, of course, and I'm the founder and creator of Livzenastrology. And I'm here having a 30-day cosmic exploration about astrology in Gemini season. It's all about talking. It's about connecting. It's about sharing our truth about things that we're passionate about. And so I'm so grateful that you all are here in this cosmic conversation about basically everything. Gemini is so curious. And the point of focus of this channel is really from the periphery of astrology, looking at the planetary energies, looking at our own internal structures and seeing how this is playing out in the world stage. So there's a lot happening right now energetically, and people are finding their voice on how to speak about these things that are important, on, sharing their values, finding their tribe, finding their community, their real community, not based on the old structures of Pisces, which are dissolving away. This is very much about stepping into your authentic power, which many of us may not be familiar with, especially in this time period where, things are very interesting. And sorry, guys, I'm a little distracted. I guess I'm not showing myself on. Okay, I guess I am. I don't know. We'll see. Trying to go on to Instagram and, playing with the Instagram technology, but it may or may not be working. So, all right, we're going to pass that. Carry on. I'm, again, navigating different social media platforms to see, who is really interested in astrology, because the intention of this channel is really to form community and to based on the values, shared values of asking bigger questions, right? Cosmological questions that maybe when you look around you and you see this realm and you look at, and maybe you guys can relate, ever since I was a young child, I just always felt like something was off. This world didn't make sense to me, right? And so I was always a nature baby. I'm a Gen Xer. So I was a latch and key child, told to go play outside quite a bit. And, and it's funny because in hindsight, for a long time, I thought I was lonely and, a lonely child playing outside nature. And now I realize, oh my gosh, that was like my saving grace. Because nature is so healing. And as a child, I was always just drawn to being out, in the woods, even though I was told to go play and don't come back till dark. I think a lot of us Gen Xers were raised that way. And again, not blaming the parents, because, look at what they had to go through, right? Because a lot of our parents in this generation were hippies, and they come from that 60s movement, right? Of exploration, of freedom. So after that time period, when they were growing up, they were still children trying to raise themselves. So if you are a Gen Xer and you can relate, just put that in the comments if you also were a latch and key child and just basically raised yourself, And so a lot of us from this generation have learned to raise ourselves and to learn to ask different questions. Again, if you resonate with this channel, that means there's something within you that has also asked these questions. Like, who are we? Where do we come from? Where are we going? What's my purpose here? Why does this reality seem so screwed up? Why can't people just love each other? Why does there have to be so much division and separation and control, right? Everything has to be dictated upon. And I'm not saying all of it's bad, right? Because in a way, we're children. In some ways, we need that guardianship, right? But where has it gotten out of balance? Where has it gotten out of whack, if you will? And so this is the discussion that I wanted to come through today as I was, tuning into the transits of the energy and realizing that Venus, our love and money, our value planet, how we see ourselves, beauty, it rules nature, the senses. In astrology, it rules the second house. It actually has a dual rulership. So it rules two signs in the zodiac. It rules the sign Taurus, which rules the second house. And it also rules the sign Libra, which rules the seventh house, which is all about our partnerships and all our relationships, right? For good or bad, right or wrong. It's our sacred partnerships and relationships, our friends, our communities. But it also rules especially if you have anything in the 12th house, hidden enemies, right? People that present themselves as friends, but are really your frenemies. You know, if you look at the language between friend and fiend, there's not much of a difference of spelling there. So again, how things can be polarized within our own self and how we project those polarizations out into our relationships. So this is what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to go ahead and take a look. We're going to share screen at the astrology and at this ingress. And I have it set for, I have to do the entire screen here. Let me make sure I'm doing this correctly. Okay, here we are. So this is the transit. I went ahead and put, you can see here. Wait, let me go back here. I want to make sure that you guys can see me. I'm up and, yeah, okay. Again, I'm playing with the text, so thank you so much for your patience. Let's start again. All right, entire screen. It looks like you guys can see the top because when I did the filming yesterday, you couldn't really see the astrology. And I really want you to be able to look at the chart because there's an activation even by looking at the symbols. I consider astrology a holder of sacred symbols that, you know, maybe the English language has told us like, oh yeah, this symbol means this, and this is the story attached to this symbol, right? But what I've discovered just in my own contemplation with this, and again, doing deep dive studies now for over 20 years with this technology, is that sometimes if I'm willing to let go what I think I know and just allow the symbols themselves to express themselves to me, to talk to me, if you will, then sometimes these symbols tell a different story, even on what most astrologers are talking about. You know, I value our astrology community and the spiritual community, but I would ask everybody humbly to please, before they digest any information, just like before they digest food or water, make sure it goes through a filtration system. It does that naturally in the body every time you consume with something, right? The body has natural filtration systems all within it. And I would even ask that you turn on your own filtration system when you're listening to content like this, especially on astrology. Because at the end of the day, you know, I learned these meanings just like when I was in school. I learned the meanings of things. I learned history from school, early education. And again, Gemini season's being asking us to question everything, right? Even what we learned in early education of astrology. So for those of us who are really willing to put ourselves out here and say, hey, what if the planets are not the planets we think? What if we are living in a terrarium? What if, you know, this whole cosmology that we've been given to by the governing bodies, and I'm not going to say who. And again, this is for entertainment purposes only. Don't take my video camera off, guys. This is just a story. It's for entertainment purposes only. I have to preface that with that because I've gotten videos taken down. So I love you. I love you, social media. This is just a story. And so the story that wants to be told today through astrology, through this particular channel, is the story of being willing to just look at the archetypical energies and then add your own insights to it. And whether you do it through, you know, sitting outside meditation in nature and contemplating the trees, you know, I could sit with a leaf for hours and be told a story about how the leaves actually are all connected and how they're connected deeply within me and how I'm part of that tree, right? And I know this sounds sort of out there, but if you know, you know. And this channel is not here to convince you of anything. It's just here to express and share its story. So if you resonate and you want to dive deeper into this periphery that all is self, because that's where this channel comes from, Livzenastrology comes from all is self. Sorry, guys, I had to clean my glasses. I was talking to you and I was looking at this little piece of it. Anyway, South Node Virgo, got to be perfect. But anyway, coming back to the astrology for this channel, what wanted to be looked at today, and especially in relation to everything that's going on within all the platforms, within all the medias, within everything that's being spoken about today, what people are, the dialogue that's being activated, are talking about things that are unknown, are talking about things that have been out of balance, especially in what relation to power. So we're looking at Pluto here, right? Pluto's in Aquarius. And from the story we've been told about Aquarius, Aquarius rules groups and organizations and, you know, humanitarian causes, right? The philanthropist is very much about Aquarius. And so the power is coming back to the people, Aquarius. In its opposition, depending on what phases or epochs or ages you study, in whatever storyline, whatever this reality is, we go through cycles, right? So just I think of like a dishwasher or a washing machine, right? Because everything in the physical is always represented by something that's happening within the internal structure of the human body. So in other words, if you're looking at machines, the creations that have been created, they actually took our prototype, our mechanisms that are inside of us to create these outward engines, if you will. So this is just the periphery I wanted you to maybe explore within yourself as you start deep diving into these concepts, as you really start familiarizing yourself with these symbols, because the symbols themselves may tell you a different story, even from what the astrology and the astrologers have been saying. So again, invitation to just drop everything you think you know to make room for new information, new data, new insights. And so what I was looking at today, which caught my attention, right, is I was sitting in contemplation with the energies because I do it every day. I've crafted out a life for myself where I do get to connect to the cosmology and the cosmic energies in my own unique way every day. It's just the life I've chosen for myself because this to me is what matters, right? The unknown, the unexplainable. Again, not really feeling like I belong in this reality. So that's been my deep dive since a very young age to explore things that take me out of this perceived reality because this reality, there's suffering and there's things. Again, it's not about escaping, but it's about crafting a new architecture within my own thought processes so I can experience something different. And I know for me, and maybe a lot of us here that are on this channel, we're here to break generational curses, and we're here to break and to alchemize generational trauma. So what I'm seeing for the collective energy right now, especially with Venus ingressing into Taurus, is this is an opportunity to really reformulate how we see abundance, what we value, how we see money, how we see shared resources. Because, the moon right now, as I'm speaking, as I'm speaking, as when Venus ingresses into Taurus, the moon will still be in Libra, which again is ruled by Venus. So this is an opportunity, and it's actually quincunxing it because it's going to be in complete opposition when the moon ingresses into Scorpio. We're starting to look at our relationships, again, our values, because Libra rules 7th house, which is about relationships. Taurus rules 2nd house, which is about money. So again, we're going into shared resources, how we share not only our time and our resources, time is Saturn, but how we share, each other. Going into Scorpio, it's all about sexuality. It's about how we merge with the other, right? Intimacy. It's about partnerships. So there's a big dialogue happening about polyamory and interpersonal relationships and who's sleeping with who and how many partners are in this dynamic, right? There's so much conversation being had right now. And you can look out at the world stage and seeing sort of the feedback people are receiving and how people are being disoriented and perhaps being challenged in their own beliefs. It's also Sagittarius, which we're getting ready to have a full moon in Sagittarius on the 11th, or on the 9th, rather. I think it's the 9th. But yeah, it's the 9th. And then Jupiter ingresses into Cancer on the 11th. And we talked about that yesterday, and you can go back and look at day 11 of our cosmic conversation. Today is day 12. So what wants to be shared today, and just in a consideration, contemplation, are an evaluation of your relationships. Just take maybe pause if you watch this video, and just in your own life, and just look around you, see who's around you, who's in your sphere of trust, who's in your sphere of influence. Do you still hold the same values, whether in your, in this group, organizations, spiritual communities, wherever your group of people, right, where your tribe is at? Are you still in alignment with your tribe? Do you still share the same values? Because right now we're being asked on the world stage to step up into our power. And really, the power is going back to the people. And how we do that is within our own communities, our own grassroots neighborhoods. This is also Gemini, right? Your neighbors, your siblings. Again, this is all early education. So think this is what's being highlighted right now, especially with Mercury, how we think is still in Gemini, and it's coming up to conjunct or right next to Jupiter, which is it's on its anaretic, meaning it's last degree point, 29 degrees. So how I've learned astrology is that a 29-degree analytical point means it's most potent, it's most concentrated, right? So there's so much mind data information. The mind can be running overload right now. I was picking this up last night, even after I did my transmission here. I had to go outside and ground, and I had to use some magnesium on my head. My body was hot. I just felt, plus of all these solar flares going on right now, and the Schumann resonances are off the charts, and these waves, these plasma solar waves of energy that are pushing out, old construct, old thought forms. And so just really supporting the body during this time, especially with the mind just so active with all this Gemini, Jupiter's expansion. And again, we're at the most concentrated point. So you might be really receiving some information that will blow your mind, right? That will create new senses within the body, right? Will allow you to see not only yourself, but the other in a new way, and start to really evaluate, like, gosh, I've been putting my energy and focus on this belief system. It's also Sagittarius, this social system, this group dynamic. But am I still in alignment with these things? Is it still holding true? Excuse me, for what I believe to be, excuse me, guys, there must be truth coming up. Wow. Pardon me. Take a breath. This always happens when I'm speaking something that's uncomfortable. So for my own processes. So excuse me, guys. Again, Venus going into Taurus, talking about things I love, things that matter, that might actually contradict or go against the grain, which is when we're getting ready to have this moon ingress into Scorpio. So let's see when that happens. I have this set at the minute marker. Let's look at the hours. So we can see here it's 4:06 a.m. This is, again, Eastern Standard Time. And I'm following a time clock. I'm looking here at the moon when it's going to be going into Scorpio, because there's going to be an opposition energy with Venus and Taurus. And I want to take a look at that, because that's what really came in here too. So you can see that this is going to be happening tomorrow, June 6th at 11:06 p.m. Eastern Standard. So you may want to really pay attention to, because oppositions are almost like when you go into an arena with an opposing force, you have opposites, opposing energies. But the opposing energies are just basically, from what I've seen, it's almost like any form of, like Mars, like a boxing ring, or like sumo wrestlers, or anybody that battles each other. They're really not there because they're angry and they're really battling each other. They're there to make each other stronger, right? So they move their body, and they get in ways that are dynamic to help them basically master some form of mastery, right? And so with these opposing forces, with the moon in Scorpio opposing Venus, it's asking us to really shine a light and see how maybe there might have been some frenemies. You might have people in your relationship and communities that are not really for you, because we also have Saturn and Aries right now. We're about to take off. You're about to explore and explode into your own creations, into your own projects and initiations. So I'm also seeing too, where perhaps because the original ruler of Scorpio was Mars, I'm seeing also dynamics of jealousy, of competition, of envy, right? Of people. Again, this is why I come from the premise that all is self, because if it's all you, then what are you competing with, right? You're just competing with the other version of you. So it kind of neutralizes this whole competitive dynamic that all human beings have, by the way, to varying degrees. Again, astrologically, what degree of jealousy or competition comes through you is going to be based on your own individuated chart. And again, you can reach out at Livzenastrology. I'll send you a free PDF of your birth chart, or an ebook if you want to learn astrology. So you can just, contact me for that. But again, the varying degrees of how we house these energies, right? The lower octave energies, because Scorpio is the things that are hidden. It's the underworld. And so we're being shown really the underbelly of perhaps our financial system, of our senses, because Taurus rules food. So you can see Ceres right here is in Aries, and Ceres rules, if you look at the beginning of Ceres, Ceres, it's the beginning of cereal, which has to do with the grain, right? The harvest of the grain, food. So we're starting to see people, I'm seeing posts right now where people are all pissed off right now, especially those of us who like to spend money on organic foods, that now they're spraying this peel shit all over the foods, right? Even organic, they were able to sneak it in through the language, right? Sneaky words to spray this peel shit all over our foods. Again, wherever I'm sourcing my intel from, I hope that's the correct intel. And you never know these days in media if you're getting the correct information, but that's what I've been seeing on some major media platform streams. So again, you're going to be seeing people, possibly up in arms and outraged about, their food sources and what our values are. So for those of us who value organic, sustainable food and air and water, right? I think of the law, which again, we're coming up into this full moon in Sagittarius, which rules land, air, and water, which is the law, natural law. So where have our natural law rights have been infringed, have been corrupted? Again, Pluto is the plutocracy. It rules old money, hidden money, underground money, and the money are the resources, right? So the resources that are hidden underground, think of oil, think of gas, again, things from the earth. That's Pluto. That's Pluto ruled. And you convert all these resources, which also has to do with Venus, and you convert it into money, right? Because those who have the most resources have the most power, have the most control. So this is a whole uprising, if you will, and consciousness about who's really been controlling the money, who's been controlling the food, who's been controlling all the senses, the sensory things of Taurus. And are we going to align with that anymore? This Scorpio, I'm even seeing some revelations, especially with this anaretic degree. We might be getting some serious information over the next couple of days, especially approaching this full moon in Sagittarius, about what we believe to be the governing system that we thought had our back and that was protecting us and protecting our human rights, and where that may not be the case. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I want this video to stay up. So censorship is real, guys. I've experienced it a couple of times just speaking on these things. So again, it's the conversation that wanted to be had today, asking you to really just tune into your own value system. What do you value? And you might have to regrid your community. You might have to drop some relationships that are not your friends, that you thought you were your friends, or they just know you no longer have the same values, right? Because you're changing. On a cellular structure, you're changing and you're resonating at a different vibration. This also has to do with Aquarius and Pluto, right? You're transforming your vibrational nature. So who you used to vibe with, perhaps in the past, again, relationships, Libra, you may no longer be vibing with. And you might surprise yourself with this revelation, this opposition energy of who wants to come in and share resources with you. And it may not be anybody that you thought, right? And I'm also seeing too, maybe people coming back from the past. I just had a recent experience where I had an old coworker of mine, friend of mine, back from the last time that Saturn was in Aries 29 years ago, back in 96 and 97, when I was working at an old restaurant, and we were coworkers together, right? And so he just recently reached out to me, and he's having this spiritual awakening. He's like, look, I've seen you putting your videos on there, and I'm having these questions and I'm having these awarenesses, and I don't know where to go with it because I don't have anybody to talk to about these things, right? Because in his family, he came from a predominantly religious background. And so as he's having these new vibrations and awarenesses come into his field, he's like, who do I share this with? Right? So this is where you're starting to see perhaps the split, but also the reunification with who you're meant to be with, your true tribe, right? Based on who you are now and not so much the past. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing there. And again, if you guys are still here, thank you so much for being here. And if you want to put in the comments, if you're connecting to any of these frequencies, just know that you're not alone. there's tribe members out there, there are community members out there that are looking for you just as if you were looking for them, because your vibration is shifting and changing. You're sort of, I'm seeing like almost like a dog shedding old water or shedding its hair, right? You're shuffling off all these old energetic imprints and webbings, if you will, and you're making room for the new, right? I think of even KNEW, the new, what you know. And so it might cause a shift, not only in your values, but your relationship dynamics and who you want into your field. And so I'm just here to share with you that that's okay. That's happened to me many, many times, where I've initiated groups and I've left groups and I've been kicked out of groups and I kicked myself out of groups, right? Because it wasn't in alignment, because I was growing and transforming and finding my truth. And so when you speak your truth, you speak your authenticity, that's when you're going to find your true tribe. And this is what we're being called to right now, at least from this channel, is you're being called to look for your true tribe based on your true vibrations of what you're emitting. And so it might, in preparation, you might have to let maybe old relationships fall away. And this could, and depending on where it's at in your birth chart, it could be, romantic partnerships. It can be work dynamics. You might have to leave a group work situation because it's become too toxic. And again, you no longer share those same values. So this is an invitation while Venus is ingressing into Taurus to really align and find your tribe. Look for the shared values in people that are around you, and not to discard those relationships that are possibly toxic around you, right? That no longer feel good in your nervous system. And you were so used to just allowing yourself to just feel uncomfortable around certain beings that we're no longer being able to tolerate that anymore. So, clear your frenemy list, and you know who I'm talking about. For those of you watching this, if you have a frenemy, you know who they are. First person that came in your mind, and if you're not ready to release them, just maybe ask, is there a karmic contract? Is there something that I still have to learn from this being? Why I still allow them into my field? Because again, this is all being brought up to be brought up and to be brought out of you. I think of like a toxin or something that's been corroding your system, that's ready. These solar energies, these plasma fields of energy are pushing this out. So you have to let them go. If you can just do it with grace and ease and with grace and gratitude for the lessons that you learned, you'll just have a better experience of it, in my experience. So anyway, I feel complete in this transmission. Thank you guys so much for still being here on this 30-day cosmic exploration journey of consciousness and what we're all experiencing, and maybe looking at it through the lens and the language of astrology. It just, to me, brings a neutrality and a different perspective, a different periphery of what we're experiencing. So again, if you liked any of the content, like, subscribe, share, send this to friends or family who might be also experiencing these shifts and peripheries, and maybe just are looking also for tribe, right? And from a different level of perspective. And so that's what this channel really endeavors and hopes to do. So thank you guys so much for being here. So much love. I will see you tomorrow on day 13, lucky number 13 of this cosmic conversation journey. All right, guys, so much love to you. See you mañana.